Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Fluctus Channel. For the American presidency, a helicopter is never just a ride. It is a moving security bubble, a communications platform, and a carefully choreographed part of the national command system. Long before the aircraft lifts, Marine pilots, security teams, maintainers, White House staff, Secret Service agents, and ground crews have already built the route around timing, weather, escape options, and landing zones. The goal is simple: move the commander-in-chief quickly without losing control of the environment. Planning also includes backup aircraft, alternate landing zones, and communications checks, because a weather change or mechanical caution can redirect the entire movement. Even the familiar call sign changes with the passenger. The aircraft becomes Marine One only when the president is aboard. Otherwise, it is simply another Marine helicopter in the formation supporting the mission. That distinction explains why the support fleet can be broad, while the presidential seat remains controlled by certification and security standards. That mission belongs to Marine Helicopter Squadron 1, better known as HMX-1. Based at Quantico, Virginia, the squadron operates the aircraft most people recognize as Marine One whenever the president is aboard. Its pilots are selected from experienced Marine aviators, and every trip demands precision. The aircraft must land close to crowds, buildings, motorcades, foreign bases, and diplomatic venues, yet still maintain the discipline of a military flight. On short hops, a helicopter can avoid blocked roads, reduce exposure, and connect the White House, Joint Base Andrews, military installations, and event sites in minutes. The older presidential helicopters made that routine familiar. VH-3D Sea Kings and VH-60N White Hawks carried presidents for decades, supported by mechanics who treated reliability as a national responsibility. But age eventually catches every aircraft, even one polished for the cameras. That is why the VH-92A Patriot was introduced as the next-generation presidential helicopter, built from Sikorsky's S-92 design and adapted for secure communications, mission equipment, and executive transport. The new aircraft gives the White House fleet a modern airframe while preserving the same rule that has shaped presidential aviation for years. The president flies only on platforms cleared for the highest confidence. The president's movement is also larger than the single green and white helicopter. When President Joe Biden visited Joint Base San Antonio in May 2022, the operation demonstrated how a presidential trip spreads across ramps, motorcade routes, security zones, and aircraft parking areas. Air Force One, Marine helicopters, security vehicles, and support personnel all move like pieces of one machine. HMX-1 does not simply arrive with one aircraft. It brings a package. One helicopter may carry the president. Others may carry staff, press pools, communications teams, baggage, security, or emergency support. This is where the V-22 Osprey became useful. At Marine Corps Air Station Iwakuni, Air Force One and Marine One operations show that mixture clearly. Marine helicopters and V-22 Ospreys can depart as part of the broader presidential support movement. The Osprey is not an ordinary helicopter. Its two large tiltrotors rotate upward for vertical takeoff, then tilt forward so it can fly more like a turboprop airplane. That gives it speed and range beyond traditional helicopters, which makes it ideal for moving aids and equipment ahead of the president. But the same futuristic design is the reason the president has not used it as Marine One. The V-22 is part helicopter, part airplane, and that complexity brought a difficult safety history during development and service. Early crashes, mechanical issues, and later fleet restrictions kept it under scrutiny. Even when senior officials or foreign defense leaders flew in it to demonstrate confidence, presidential transport remained more conservative. The rule is not about whether the Osprey can serve the Marines. It already does. It is about the narrowest possible risk tolerance when the passenger is the President of the United States. So the Osprey works beside Marine One rather than replacing it. It hauls staff, gear, and support teams, while the President remains on certified presidential helicopters. The aircraft that looks like a transformer may be powerful, fast, and valuable, but the final seat in America's most protected air movement is reserved for the platform judged safest for that exact mission. Japan became one of the most important places to understand the Osprey's value and controversy. The United States used the aircraft across the Pacific because the region is defined by distance, islands, ships, and sudden emergencies. A helicopter can land vertically, but it cannot match the Osprey's reach. A fixed-wing aircraft can travel far, but it needs a runway. The V-22 sits between both worlds, and that made it attractive for U.S. Marines operating around Japan and for Japan's own self-defense planning. For Japanese planners, the aircraft also answered a geographic problem. Remote islands, disaster zones, and small airfields can appear far from major bases, so speed and vertical landing offer options during evacuations, relief flights, reinforcement missions, and alliance planning across Japan's southern island chain under pressure at sea. Before an Osprey ever launches, maintainers have to treat its unusual shape as a system of linked risks. At Atsugi, aircraft maintainers demonstrated the V-22B's systems, moving around nacelles, wings, rotors, doors, landing gear, sensors, and panels. The tiltrotor mechanism is the heart of the aircraft. When the nacelles are vertical, the Osprey rises like a helicopter. As they rotate forward, lift shifts from rotor wash to the wing, and the aircraft accelerates into airplane mode. That transformation is what makes it useful. But it also means maintenance crews must inspect parts that ordinary helicopters do not have in the same way. Japan's own V-22s arrived by ship at Marine Corps Air Station Iwakuni, a practical reminder that military aviation often begins as logistics. The aircraft were rolled, positioned, secured, and prepared after the sea journey before flying under Japanese markings. Their arrival mattered because Japan had chosen a platform designed for rapid island defense, disaster response, and troop movement across challenging maritime terrain. When a V-22 lifts from Iwakuni, the process is unmistakable. The rotors bite the air in helicopter mode, dust and heat ripple around the landing area, and the aircraft climbs vertically before the nacelles begin to tilt. As forward speed builds, the fuselage levels into its airplane-like cruise. This ability lets the Osprey cover long distances faster than conventional rotorcraft, then drop into confined landing zones without a runway. Aerial refueling pushes that range even further. During marine refueling operations, a KC-130 extends a hose and drogue, while the MV-22 slides into position behind it. The pilot must hold steady in disturbed air, align the probe, and make contact without drifting into the tanker's wake. Once connected, fuel flows across the hose, turning the Osprey into a longer-legged support aircraft for missions spread over ocean and island chains. That mix of reach and vertical landing explains why Japan accepted the Osprey, even while public concern followed it. The aircraft can help move troops, supplies, and rescue teams quickly, but every safety incident renews the debate. For presidential missions, that debate is even sharper. The Osprey's strengths make it valuable around Marine One, yet its public risk profile makes it unsuitable for carrying the president himself. The aircraft, often described as the future successor to the tiltrotor idea, is the Bell V-280 Valor. It was developed for the U.S. Army's future vertical lift effort, not as a direct copy of the V-22, but as a new approach to speed, range, and troop transport. The main difference is visible. On the V-22, the entire engine nacelles tilt. On the V-280, the engines remain fixed while the rotors and drive system tilt. That change is intended to reduce mechanical complexity around the wing and improve maintainability while keeping the advantages of vertical takeoff and airplane-like cruise. The V-280's concept aims at a problem soldiers understand well. Future battlefields may demand that troops move farther, faster, and from less predictable locations. A traditional helicopter can land in rough places, but it may take longer to reach them. A transport aircraft can fly fast, but it depends on airfields. A tiltrotor can lift from a small zone, accelerate into efficient forward flight, and arrive beyond the range of many helicopters. That is why future vertical lift is not just an aircraft program. It is a rethink of how ground forces might move across wider areas. Soldier touchpoints are a key part of that process. During testing and evaluation, troops do not simply admire the aircraft from outside. They climb in, sit with their gear, test the space, examine seat layouts, look at ingress and egress, and give feedback on what would work during real missions. Their opinions matter because an aircraft that performs well on paper can still fail the user if soldiers cannot load quickly, exit safely, communicate clearly, or carry the equipment they need. The V-280 was built by Bell, a company tied to American helicopter history. Bell aircraft shaped everything from early utility helicopters to the UH-1 Huey, whose sound became inseparable from the Vietnam War. That background matters because new vertical lift aircraft do not appear from nowhere. They carry decades of experimentation in rotor systems, flight controls, transmissions, crash safety, and battlefield feedback. Compared with the Osprey, the Valor represents the next attempt to keep the best part of tiltrotor flight while reducing some of the burdens that made the V-22 controversial. It is not meant to solve presidential transport, but it shows where the technology is going. Faster than a helicopter, more flexible than an airplane, and designed with lessons learned from years of Osprey operations. From Marine One's cautious presidential flights to the Osprey's support role in Japan, and from aerial refueling to the future V-280, the story is not about banning innovation. It is about matching each machine to the level of risk its mission can accept. The president rides in the most trusted helicopter available, while tiltrotors carry the wider team and point toward the future of vertical flight. That's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our new content. See you next time.